give you some credit for what Ojana will be talking about, is your use of the internet. I've been enjoying your articles, the one you wrote about Netanyahu. That was a beautiful article, I loved that. But we thank you for taking advantage of the new technologies, because we are now in a different era, and we have to exploit that channel. So there's always a channel. Then the message has to be decoded. And decoding is very important. That's what we were talking about. Sometimes people don't get what you say. The decoding process is very important. And not just decoding, there's noise. And the noise can be physical. The noise can be psychological. The noise can be mechanical. The noise, I mean, we live in a world of noise. The noise can even be internal. We have all kinds of issues we are dealing with, and sometimes we cannot process information correctly. How can you even process information about the world? How can you process the world? What is it? So that kind of disturbance, even for you personally, psychologically, causes difficulties. And then we live in a world where we are clashing, values are clashing. They are telling our women one of these stories. We come back home, we are trying to tell them something. We are trying to tell our daughters something different. We live in this world of constant clashes, of confusion, of ideas, a clash of culture. Where do we go? Where do we keep our women? Do we keep them side by side? Do we keep them in the kitchen as we tried before? Where do we take them? So we are in a real crisis situation, and these questions are really critical. But we must also use this opportunity to thank our women. We want to thank them because they do so much. I mean, if African humanities, anyways, thanks to the women. If it's Africa, they are there cooking, they are there tending, they're taking care of the children, they are there in the market. We thank our women for that. We thank the women leaders who are coming forward now. You, the journalists, the presidents, the ministers, the spokespersons, please step forward. Step forward, because some of us, the men, have failed. In fact, if you look at the post-independence era of Africa, there's been so much failure because of the men. Now we are asking more women to step forward and do what they have to do. And this demands communication. You have to communicate in your houses. You have to communicate in your towns. You have to communicate with the global world as we are doing here today. And then every communication action operates within a context. We don't speak in groups. We now live in a global village, what the great communication scholar Marshall McLuhan described as the global village. Just look at this form. China, Africa, America, look at what it is. Look at the gender mix. That's marvelous. Just step out of the street and you see the kind of world we are living in. That's the universe. That's where we are operating. We're no longer operating in the village. And that becomes very important, because if we now expect our women who've gone to school to sit in kitchens and to be dictated to, they are not going to listen to us. We have to look for a different way of communicating with these women. They have gone beyond and above us. They live in this global village, and communication then becomes very, very useful. Beginning from our own houses. If we talk carelessly to our wives or to our partners, there's no house. So that communication has to begin the intrapersonal communication, interpersonal communication, group communication, which is what we're trying to do. Then global, which is we have elements of human, and then of course various other forms of communication, and that becomes very useful. And one of my theses is that communication is central. It's a vital component in all activities of human affairs. If we condense it into politics, economics, and culture, then communication is that link. It's a major connector. Without communication, there's chaos. Without communication, there's confusion. Without communication, there is disaster. Without communication, there's no hope for the future. So communication is a central component. But communication is just one in a nexus of factors. It's not the answer. It's part of the answer. It's not the total answer. It's not the total answer, because economics is central. If you don't have money, forget it. You have no say. So ladies, we are asking you to get empowerment. Please try to get some money. If it means you acquire an education, acquire that education and get some money. Because economics is powerful. If you have no economics, you're out. I mean, you're wretched. I mean, the only language which is understood globally is the language of economics and money. Money speaks, and then BS, does what it does. So please, women, get the education, acquire some economics, and that will improve your communication techniques. If you don't have a radio station, you don't have it. If you don't have a computer, you don't have it. So economics is crucial, and it is critical for us to integrate our women into the modern economic sphere. They are there, but we need to encourage them. Communication is one of those skills. Once again, you don't want to give a professor the opportunity to start speaking, because when we keep talking and talking and talking, that is not my style. This is an interactive forum. I'm just here to introduce, this is just a tip of the iceberg. I'm just opening the doors to the golden gate. Please, all of you have contributions to make. That's the purpose of this. The purpose of it is for us to share ideas. And I would just want to go around the hall for 1 minute. Just give this microphone for a minute to just reflect on this topic. Don't go beyond 1 minute. One topic. Communication and power and peace.
I guess I'll just say that words can be empowering. It's such a blessing that we are able to use our words to communicate in general. And women are half the people in the earth, so that's a great way to communicate directly with women, to empower women themselves and kind of come together as a group, a gender group, but also to understand that men as well as women all respect women, and to make sure that they get their voice in the community.
Hello, my name is Lola Aforo. I am originally from Sierra Leone. I think that communication for women, teaching them and helping them is very important, coming from a country that I think women are not listened to, or they are not taught to speak. So we need women like me and many others to come up and speak for them, show them how to speak, and really help other women of the world. So I think this is a good place to be.
Good morning. I'm Obi Sukotostayo from Nigeria. Communication is very, very essential, especially in Nigeria. We say that we are making giant strides. That's we, the women of Nigeria. They are really trying recently. We have a lot of forum in Nigeria, bringing women together to share our experiences, to discuss on issues. And that's why even Nigerian government are giving a lot of opportunities for women, starting from the federal government down to the states, even the local government. So most women are now coming up as administrators of local government. So we still need programs like this in order to equip us more, to develop programs that will help. There are so many women in the rural areas. So we really need to make this impact reach to the grassroots in order to better the loss of women in Nigeria. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dr.Domatob from Nigeria. This is a very interesting topic. Women's Forum, as we know, from the world, women have been the backbench of humanity. They feel inferior before men. Yes, of course, giving them chances is very interesting, but they should make a move. They should take a bold step to make themselves known. Men will dominate the world. From time ago, we have been having men presidents, men ministers, and all this and that. Women, no matter your education, you have a limit. So they should come up from where they are, okay, to present themselves, prove themselves that they can be able to do certain things. Then the chances they are looking for, you can grant it, they can have it.
Wonderful.
Bonjour. Moi, je viens d'un pays où la population est constituée à 51% de femmes.
I come from a country where the population is composed by 51% of women.
Mais 5% seulement sont dans les structures de décision.
But only 5% are present in the decision-making positions. society.
Alors, en tant que média, qu'est-ce que je peux faire pour aider les femmes dans ce pays?
And as a media person, what can I do to help women?
Quelle communication développer dans ce pays?
Which kind of communication needs to be developed in this country?
Voilà la problématique et je m'attends à la suite aussi.
So this is the issue. Just wait to see what people have to say.
Good morning. My name is Kate Amadi. I'm from Nigeria. And we're talking about communication. I think everything begins with communication. To have a peaceful home, peaceful atmosphere, we have to communicate. So I think communication is the key to wisdom. That's all I have to say.
Good morning. My name is Brazila. My name is English.
We understand.
I'm coming from Chad. As my director said, communication is very important in a country like Chad because women are not considered like men. So, what will be our role like media?
They asked me to speak about peace. Well, one thing that is of concern to us, or for me actually, is I've been to several newsrooms around the world, and it's a very common practice you find war correspondents. I'm here to see a peace correspondent in many of the newsrooms.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Detoy. I would say on the question of communication, because taking from where Dr. Chino left off, we look around the world today and it's very despairing. And I think for those of us in the world of communication, to be able to portray ideas such that we can challenge people to think in the future and how it is that we can get from where we are, which is a struggle, to that in the future, which will be better. And for me, that is my challenge in communication.
Dr. Chenna, once again, we could go on. How do you craft, how do you fashion, how do you manufacture communication? Like anything else, like any good thing, it has to be done. It's not just something you chop up and you have to sit down and do some planning and conceptualization. You don't just jump up and talk. In fact, wisdom sometimes demands that you don't talk. Rather than talk, you say nothing, and that's communication. Because the great communication scholar of Watzlawick said, you cannot not communicate. For us, some of us are parents, when you have a child who is born, and then that child just suddenly stops talking. That's a source of concern. You start asking, what happened? What's going on with this child? That's not hard. What? Because that non-talk is talk.
Yes.
It's talk.
That's right. Non-verbal
Yes, you've not said anything, but you have said it. Yeah. And that's sometimes very, very important. We think that we have to speak. No, sometimes no talk. Don't open your mouth.
To create peace.
Yeah, for peace. For peace. Yes. You can, your husband or somebody is saying something, you listen quietly and you walk away. You don't react. It's very important for us to give thought to what we are doing. And there's also the purpose. What is the purpose of your speech, of your memo, of your newspaper, of your radio, of your television? What's the purpose? There should always be a purpose. In fact, this is something we should ask ourselves on a daily basis. What's my purpose? And Dr. Chena, you are in a global thing. You have sometimes to even come to yourself and ask, what is the purpose of this? So the purpose is very, very, very important. And then sometimes you reduce that purpose to a slogan, like what you try to do. Peace, communication, and love. That's not it. So the slogan becomes very useful, very critical, very tactful, very, 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 very important. If you listen to good adverts, you have those kinds of strategies. Then before coming in here this morning, I picked up copies of the AM. Please, they're right here. the beauty of a city like this is that teachers don't need textbooks because the textbooks are there. I miss New York City for things like this. You're passing by the train station, you have a free newspaper. So they force it down your throat whether you want it or not. And they say newspapers are there, they look away and they force it on your throat. That's the beauty of this city. I just wish I could get this from Loma, where I would give my students, or we wish we could have this in the University of Jamena or the University of Gambia. This is so nice. I mean, the students can do this. But we are blessed with the phones now, which is what is happening. Students are no longer listening. You can be talking on your phones. But it's a good thing to use, and Dr. Domatob, you're doing a wonderful job communicating with us using this. It's wonderful. But for us in the third world, it's still a problem because electricity, even just the basic infrastructure, we have issues to deal with this. I mean, it's available, but it's still not available. The haves and the have-nots, we have issues with that. It's there, but it's not there. So the point we're making is, if you look at this newspaper, for instance, look at the front page. It has to be attractive. You have to draw your readers in. And this applies to radio, to television, to newspapers. You must make sure that you pull in your audience, which takes us again to audience analysis. You must try to figure out who you are talking to. In fact, Dr. Chena, that's why you saw me stop and send this microphone around. I have clear as to who I'm speaking to and where they're coming from. Sometimes you just have to let people speak, listen for a second, so that you can interact and link with the audience. Otherwise, it's again the situation of no communication. You have to make sure that you connect. That connecting facet is very important, and we have to pay attention to that. Yes, sir.
I don't know whether you could react to the concerns they have about how to do their job, especially talking to women and stuff like that. I think that's what they raise, right?
The first thing I would bring up is that
He said as a journalist, you don't know
I'm a manager.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you could talk, talk more on that.
One of the first things I would strongly encourage, and you guys know where I'm coming from. I'm coming from education. I think education is very, very important. Education in the broad sense of the word, not Western education. Education as broadly as possible, which is, what does education strive to do? Education strives to equip us with skills so that we can adapt socially, culturally, mentally, and psychologically anywhere we are. So education becomes very useful. Both the traditional education, which we are missing now, and Western education, and global education. So education to me is a big, big thing. That is exposing our wives, exposing them, not doing what we did to them. So that's one. Two, which is linked to education, is they need skills. When they are doctors or lawyers or engineers, we respect them. So even though there are all these obstacles, we still have to push our women to become the managers, the journalists, the reporters. They can bring to education. Then the third thing which we have to do is this community must empower them. It's not as if women are there and we are here. We walk together. There's no man without a woman, and there's no woman without a man. We really need them. And where we are failing, for instance, sometimes we are disrespectful. Sometimes on both sides.
We, the men, or the...
Both sides. Sometimes both sides. Sometimes we don't speak rightly to women, and sometimes they too don't speak rightly to us. I'll explain that. Our women must understand, and many of them do, that the culture gives the man some kind of privilege. That means, therefore, that you have to recognize that limitation. It's a wrong psychology, and talk to your husband with some respect. Because we were brought up with our mothers respecting us and talk to us nicely. If you come and start talking in a certain way, it cuts communication. So we have to learn how to speak, how to interact, and how to share what and how we have. And that's why what happened in northern Nigeria with the girls is such a catastrophe. That idea of some terrorists coming to take young girls who are in school we deplore that situation with vehemence. That is tragic, when young girls are in school trying to acquire an education and hooligans come in the name of what? To come, that we are so disappointed with that. And that's not something. So one, as I said, is the education. Two is economics. We must allow our women to develop in various spheres as educators, as lawyers, as engineers, as doctors. And then thirdly, Liberia has set the example. We must bring them there. If a woman is more intelligent now, I happen to come from a family of women. They've proved to me in every way they're bigger than I am. They can do me therefore. They're wiser than I am. They have more degrees than I have. They have more children. They've proved to me in many ways that women can do it. So we must take advantage of that resource, of that benefit, of that lesson, and work together with it. So one, education. Two, economics. Three, whatever it takes, empowerment from a broad perspective. I mean, we empower people in so many ways. We thank you doing it. This is empowerment. That you are doing what you're doing. And sometimes the women have to step up because nobody will give you. In fact, the theory of power is that you grab power. So women have to grab power in some situations. If you find out that we're not giving you the power, guys, take it. Take it. Nobody gives you power on a global platform. You grab power. So we're not saying that people should bring revolutions in their husbands' homes and their communities. We're just saying we need to work together and solve this. But this is again an area where I will also need input from some of you. My whole perception is that we as human beings, we only have a little bit of ideas. It's when we come collectively that we share the ideas. I'm sure some of you have input on this question. Please, if you want to comment on this, you're welcome.
Do you mind repeating the question just for the full question again?
Yeah. I guess the question was, okay. She was actually talking about how the media can help women really advance their cause.
I have some questions. In our country, in Chad, there is a lot of problem of tradition or habit. Someone can tell you that a woman cannot, for instance, tell in front of a man. So in this case, what I can do me as a woman or a journalist to do in order to reach my purpose, I mean communication.
Okay, good. That's it.
Okay. You wanted to answer it, right? Okay.
That's a great question. Just do what you're doing well. You'll be amazed that if you present a good musical program, people admire it. If you have a good commentary, people love that. If you do a good sports report, people recognize it. Sometimes we think that greatness comes from, no, just whatever you're doing. If you're a newscaster, be the best newscaster. If you are a reporter, be the best reporter. If you are a women's program coordinator, be the best. That will bring you up in some way, somehow. People will see it. It's not, as we said, you don't have to be, just take something and do it well. People look at Dr. Ochena. He brought us from Chad, from Mississippi, from wherever from. He did. So it's because of hard work. It's because of excellence. So just do what you're doing well, and then the idiots will realize that they have no space, no spot. Sometimes we're idiots. Yes, you'll come next time. They'll come when you're passing. You'll stand aside. In fact, there are those who come and say that this is the best. Those guys will come and say, look, this is the best journalist here. Don't mess with that. And that's the beauty of our people. When you do something nice, you feel they receive you, they welcome you, they cheer you. I mean, we're crazy, but we are also very receptive, but we're also very appreciative. Yes, so whatever little chance we give you, be as a wife, be the best wife. As a broadcaster, be the best broadcaster. Just the least opportunity. Please capitalize, because had Dr. Seeley not done well in the World Bank and where she was, she would not be where she is. So that opportunity which comes, I mean, look at, we're here. You're the general manager. Anything you want, you get it done. Tell him in this trip. And what you say is what's going to happen. And if you prove to him that you can read the news well, just listening to you. You're speaking English. He's proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much. I like this discussion a lot. I almost feel like we need some kind of affirmative action in communication. I don't know if you see what I mean. You guys who are the gurus, just like you have affirmative action in employment, I think we need some kind of affirmative action in women communication, especially like in Sierra Leone, in Chad, in America, wherever. We need it. We need that platform. Women need that edge. And the men and the young and men and boys need to realize that women need that edge. And sometimes they need to move over. And it's very difficult. My grandson is 5 years old. You know what he tells me? I don't like pink. I don't want to see the Ice Princess. I don't know where he gets this from. 5 years old, he's already becoming a man. Sometimes I have to teach him. So I think it's a man thing. And because of that, it's going to be a long walk. And it's very difficult. So maybe not only, even when women, we want to take the platform, they push you over. And they're bigger than us. So I really feel like, no, they're bigger than us in the way they look and what they have. Everywhere you go, a man is a president in the world. A man is a president. I'm from Sierra Leone. I used to work for the University of Sierra Leone in public relations, head of public relations. I'm the spokeswoman for the university. Everybody knows I have a big mouth and I talk. I never get girls to come near me and talk. They're always in the corner. And the boys are so bad. We have a club and we do a club and we set an organization for students. You know what the boys do? The president of the club is a boy, the vice president is a boy, the treasurer is a boy, then the secretary is a girl. And they do it. And the girls will take it. Sometimes I say, no, today the president is a woman, the vice president is a woman, and the secretary is a boy. And they said, no, we're not doing it. But this is the reality. So we almost need an affirmative action of some sort that will tell the men or people that women should have this quota in communication. That's it. If you want to go further, you must have this many women in your communication so we can move further.
Totally agree. Totally agree with you. I mean, Brother Udianeme, I saw him winking. I don't know whether she advised it, but I agree with you, my sister.
Well, I mean, she made a point, you know. I everybody agree with her. But the fact is, yeah, what you said is correct, okay? But the fact is, you realize that if you made a woman the president and vice president or whatever, you know, they say we are 2 or 3 women are gathered together, noise, you know, things are organized, you know, like, I don't know, we'll have like 4 or 5 men here trying to do one or 2 things. But if you have like 4 or 5 women, before you know it, fight starts, the rest starts, you know, I don't know why. First of all, giving them opportunities is a great thing, okay? But then trying to capitalize on the chances being created is another thing, because somewhere along the line, they will kind of, you know, abuse it. You know, now we'll be like, okay, we'll try you guys, it didn't work, okay, let us take over. And when you take over, we'll start moving.
Dr. Amadi. Dr. Amadi, I noticed your face.
Amadi.
Okay, get Amadi.
Is this cultural? Or is this tradition? Are you speaking on the basis of tradition?
That's not
or
natural,
are you speaking on the basis of culture to say exactly what you just said, that you're giving them a chance? Giving women a chance. So I want you to explain in details so that I really understand what you mean without being biased about it.
I don't think you can really explain in detail. I think.
Let him explain.
No, I think that he needs some help. You professional journalists to teach him and explain to him, because he is this very, very kind of man in Africa that will put us back.
That much of my
I think,
it's practical, we can try it.
I think maybe I understand the whole concept, but the truth is that it's part of the conversation actually I was there because a lot of places women's voices are undermined, and there is masculine,
Is it male chauvinistic behavior?
Yeah, that's the word. Chauvinism is there, but when he was talking about give them a chance, I'm not sure he was talking about men giving women a chance, but in other words, if you allow women to organize themselves somehow, they find difficulties in organizing, which is true really, because women are their greatest problems. That's what I know. Even Shakespeare said that in Julius Caesar, right? And if a woman aspires to become president here now, all of us, as we want to elect you as a leader, you discover that women will vote against their fellow women. I don't know why it happens. It goes to be cultural that somehow women see themselves that no, men should be ahead or whatever reason. But saying that men should give women or women are giving women opportunities, maybe I don't think that's what she meant. I believe we were just saying that in a situation where women stay together, that sometimes they find it difficult to lead themselves. And all of you women can attest to that. Women always quarrel against each other. Even when I was in university those days, I remember, women stay in the same hostel. They can, men can share very well in their rooms. Even when those days, maybe, I remember there we used to be like 3 in a room. So someone else, a guy can just go and lie on the floor and go up with it, But women, oh my God, you don't do something like that. I don't know why. I have no explanation. But it's why we're recognizing that. And to also respond to your comment about affirmative action. Well, in the literature about women in the media, a lot of discussions are going on there in terms of even media ownership. How many women own media establishments? And going back to what Prof. was saying initially about economic empowerment, if you don't have the economy, the power, the money, you probably have a problem, right? How many women do have advertising agencies? You could speak to that, right? So with that kind of situation, affirmative action is not, you can't do it like this in education or it is in maybe employment. Because who's going to give money to women to go and say, it's not, nobody's sharing money. So it might be a problem. But I think a more important thing is for women to recognize it's a hindrance and begin to work towards that. And like she also mentioned, realizing some cultural peculiarities of certain cultures and understanding that there's always resistance to change, and how do you gradually, change habits. It's a difficult thing, but the media recognizing that this is a long-standing cultural inhibition must advance some strategies by talking about it and gradually welcoming people into a new era where you must understand that society has changed and women needs to be heard, and the time where they just stayed in the kitchen is gone, and face the new reality.
Well said, Doc. Well said. I mean, you summarized it so well. There's a look on her face, and she has to bring it up.
No, I don't have anything else to add. I guess, and I'll speak about this when I get up, but in the industry, I work in advertising in the media industry, and I work on a team with 10 women and 2 men. And it's a great environment, and I think at sometimes women gang up on the 2 men on the team, and it's a really empowering environment to be in because we all support each other. We still support the men as well. But there is hope for that to happen. I would say latch on to something that you're strong at, as you said, like figure out what you're good at, but also have a community or a resource or a group of women that can empower you to help you be that person, be that voice, and achieve what you're trying to get at.
Ok. En fait, je voudrais revenir à l'intervention tout à l'heure où il disait que nos nos pères communiquaient même au moins la nuit avec nos mères.
I want to go back to when we were talking about the fact that at night our parents speak, our father and our mother would speak together.
Du point de vue anthropologique ou du point de vue sociologique, est-ce que c'est vraiment une communication sincère ou bien c'est pas une communication démagogique?
From an anthropological point of view or a human point of view, is this really a sincere form of communication, or is it just some other form of demagogy?
I have an answer for that. I like that. All of the above. All of the above. All of the above, because communication cuts across. To effectively communicate, sometimes you have to study people's psychology. For instance, Brother Odian has studied the psychology of this room. He's withdrawn. He noticed that he was touching his next head. And then he took that phone quietly for peace and stepped out. But it's very, very important for you to understand the dynamics. He just realized that he had touched the snake's head and he picked his phone quietly and walked. So it's all of what you've said. There's no way. You know how our fathers used to do? They'll come and be talking that thing in the compound, talking that thing. In the night, they had to go talk to our mothers as men. And a true man is somebody who realizes that he can, at some stages, admit his limitations. Go and use resources. Our mothers are resources. They go quietly in the night and then negotiate with their mothers, explain things to them. They know that you, as the child, you owe allegiance to your mother. So what then they do is they come quietly at night, talk to you, convince you, and I think that's very important. So even if it's demagogic, it's very important for the peace of the house. It's very important for the harmony. It's very important. And our mothers like it. Our mothers like it. So that negotiation, which is what communication is, you negotiate. You are constantly negotiating. Again, I use Brother Udianis, he negotiated his way out of this, stepped out quietly. But that's very important. So the psychology of communication, the economics of communication, the politics of communication, the sociology of communication, it's very important to bring all these elements together. I mean, it's not just communication. It's all of these variables coming into that perspective. So that if our fathers were doing that and there was peace and harmony at home, that was fantastic. That's why we look at the polygamy. It survives because our fathers know how to handle the situations. They know how to handle it. Yes. They can handle it. I mean, I'm not saying we should do big polygamous, but
no, you're right. You're right.
It's very important.
My father is a good example. He handled it well.
No, they
several wives.
And sometimes it's a bad thing, maybe not, because you have a home. You have my cousins, my uncle had 30 children. They all were in the compound and had his wives. I'm not saying that's what we should do. Most of us are Christians. But sometimes for harmony, we love somewhere. It's not.
Yeah, but sometimes with those sort of homes, you've had a lot of problems also, especially when the father dies, division of property.
True.
And that's where everything comes out. So the men have created a lot of problems, especially after their death.
True.
You know, when they're alive, okay, you know, it's an uneasy alliance against the wives.
And
but once they're dead, that is another thing completely.
True, ma'am. You've brought a very good phrase on easy alliance, which summarizes life. Life is an uneasy alliance. I mean, that phrase is so powerful. Life is an uneasy alliance. Look at the job place, very uneasy alliance. Look at schools, very uneasy alliance. So that is reality. That is what life is. I mean, we are each minute we are dealing with this uneasy alliance. Uneasy alliance between you and your husband, between your school and the organization, between the company. I mean, what a nice phrase, uneasy alliance. That is not very good phrase, which summarizes life. And the question is, how do you manipulate yourself within this uneasy alliance?
When the Jews fled from Egypt, Moses took them 40 years into the desert. And the reason why he did that is because he realized that slaves could not become free people in half a day. At least that's an interpretation that I think is valid also, because many of the issues that are referred to men and women are only just a reflection of the pathological situation in which men have had the privileges and women have been oppressed. So I think it's through dialogue in which we can find solutions, but this is not something that we need to explore. The exploration has been done. There is many experiments in many situations in which women and men are working together very successfully. So, and they're working in all kinds of fields. So the limitations of the past, of tradition, are only just based on that, on tradition. And I do not think that they should be in any way source of legitimation. We have to acknowledge the existence of many cultures and traditions, but there is no reason to put women down, because that's just something that is happening, but it's not because it's good, it's because it's part of what we're coming from. And I think that when you talk about polygamy and in Islam, my understanding is that the Prophet Muhammad allowed for polygamy because polygamy was worse than what existed before. Because what happened is that men would change from one woman to the other, but wouldn't have any obligations to any of them. And very important thing of polygamy in Islam is that the man, as you make reference to, is forced to treat all women equally. What's happening is polygamy is disappearing because only the very rich can continue. So the Prophet was not trying to promote it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, sorry. That's another bone of contention in the sense that in Islam, in the first place, when you want to get, something must be wrong for you to take another wife. It's just that the interpretation, how people have interpreted Islam. But in real fact, it was never meant to be a common thing. If the wife couldn't give birth, if the wife was, or the husband was sick or whatever, or the wife was sick or whatever, then they can. But they had to have the approval of the other wife. But it's not in Islam. It's not clearly stated that, oh, a man is supposed to have the woman. Something must be wrong in that relationship. You know, be it health or something. You know, for the man to take another woman.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you so much.
It's a misinterpretation.
Thank you. We have covered this ground so much. In fact, I think we're already stepping into some new territories. So let me thank you. I enjoyed this a lot. Yes, you can notice I love graduate seminars, and thank you so much. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.